next guest is a Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist, best known for his views on politics. His new book, however, has very little to do with politics. It's called Men at Work, The Craft of Baseball. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome George Will. George! We do. We look like we're in a club, don't we? Look at that. Pretty good match. The last time you were on, or any time anybody from that program on Sunday morning is on, I always take a second to compliment the participants, because I think that's just a great way for a guy like myself to sort of get a feel for what really is going on in the United States and the world, and what intelligent people have to say about it. I enjoy that.
Thank you very much.
And it's no secret that you're also a baseball fan. Who did you root for as a kid?
Cubs.
Cubs?
2 years ago, they were cheering louder. No, I grew up midway between Chicago and St. Louis. You're Midwestern.
Yes, sir.
You got your baseball through radio.
That's right.
And radio was all over there. St. Louis was then the westernmost expanse of baseball.
Right.
And I couldn't stand the Cardinals broadcaster named Harry Carey. So I became a Cub fan, a fateful decision.
Yeah.
Grew up embittered and conservative.
Yeah.
My friends all became Cardinal fans and grew up liberals.
All right.
And then Carey moved to Chicago and is now the voice of the Cubs.
Now, have you been able to reconcile this hatred for the announcer, Mr. Carey?
I don't hate him anymore. He's a swell guy.
So you've met him then and patched everything up?
Sure, often, yeah.
Did you play the game yourself?
Badly.
Yeah?
Well, sincerely.
And what position?
I was a born right fielder, but they sometimes put me at second base.
Right.
I played for the Mittendorf Funeral Home Panthers.
Oh, the Panthers. They were very good.
Our color was black.
And were you and your team the source of ridicule because you had a funeral home as a sponsor?
No, because there was the Rasmussen Masonry Braves. You know how Little League teams are. They're all sponsored by the local guys.
I played for a team. My second Little League team was sponsored by Spicklemeyer Concrete and Cement Products. And we were I forget what we were. I think the Braves, as a matter of fact.
What team do you root for?
Bless you, ma'am. Can we get you a tissue or a lozenge? The team I grew up with was Cincinnati, and it's still my favorite team. Every year,
You're not a front runner. I mean, everyone's a Reds fan this year.
No. That was when I used to go to games in Crosley Field. My dad and I would go down to Cincinnati on the train.
I had lunch today with Frank Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about playing in Crosley Field with that terrace.
Yep.
Sort of climb up.
Yeah, that was amazing. When he was traded, people thought that was the end of his career, and then he went on to have yet another great run.
Another MVP year.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the book. Now, this is different from other major works on baseball, and it seems like every year there's a half a dozen of them. Yeah. How is it different?
Well, I wrote the book that no one had written for me. I didn't want another sentimental book. It's the anti-Field of Dreams look at baseball. This isn't baseball as metaphor. I got tired of intellectuals who go to the ballpark and suck their thumbs and say how baseball reminds me of my father or the Federal Reserve Board or something. I wanted baseball as they play it. I just wanted to say what's going on.
Right.
All the nuances of the game, and it turns out there are an awful lot of them.
And are they things that we should be fascinated by, or do they just happen to be sort of contrivances of the game as it's evolved?
I think that we should be fascinated by them, because the reason baseball is so hot now, and it is really hot,
Right.
You know, a lot of people want to read the book, a lot of people going to the ballparks, is that it rewards adult attention because it's so complex. It's the game both for the participant and the fan that most rewards attention to detail. It's the most observable game. You have 9 people spread out on a green field. It's episodic. It's not a game of flow like basketball, so it can be observed and analyzed.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It's my turn.
Jump right in. I don't have anything to say.
All I really heard there was you stop talking, and I went, oh. But you focus on 4 guys: Orel Hershiser, Tony Gwynn, Tony La Russa, and Cal Ripken. Now, the Tony La Russa thing, I read excerpted in Sports Illustrated a couple of months ago. And you lived with these guys for a time, right? You followed them around?
I traveled them around with them a lot for 2.5 years.
And how were your expectations different from, I mean, did they change, or did you pretty much...
I learned 3 things, basically.
What's that?
One, the importance of the manager. I think a manager, as much as a pitcher, can be a 20-game winner for his team, which means, by the way, managers are the most radically underpaid people in baseball. A 20-game winner is a $3 million property.
Right.
Second, the importance of defense. It's true pitching 75% of the game, but defense turns out to be 75% of pitching. But the most interesting thing to me about all the culture of baseball is that I heard no one brag. They know how hard the game is and how fine the difference between success and failure. It is, after all, a game of failure. The best team in baseball this year will get beaten 60 times.
Yeah.
The best hitter in baseball this year will fail 65% of the times. So it's a very humbling experience for everyone except Jose Canseco.
Yeah.
He's a very rich young
Now
man.
this man just signed his contract. It's like 5 years, and what's the total package?
It comes to slightly more than $4 million a year.
Now this again is the example that's of a trend that's been going on for the last 20 years. And do you think that a man like this is worth it? That the salaries, the inflated salaries, that's the phrase people use, are they?
I disagree entirely.
Yeah.
I'm a pure Marxist when it comes to baseball. Marx believed in the labor theory of value. That labor creates all value and should get all the rewards. I'm almost that way in baseball. Baseball is an enormous economic value. It's created by the players. 55 million fans paid to go to Major League stadiums last year. Not one of them bought a ticket to see an owner.
Yeah.
They all go to see the ball players.
That's true.
And the ball players ought to get most of it. I mean, when Kirby Puckett raises himself from the meanest streets on the south side of Chicago to become the first $3 million player, that's long since eclipsed in the last 8 months, first $3 million player, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Who can object to that? Jack Nicholson makes a fifth-rate movie about a ninth-rate comic star, Batman, and makes $50 million. Who knows? Who cares? Who's contributing more to the national interest, Jose Canseco or Batman?
Geez, that's a real puzzler, isn't it?
No, it's not.
But all right, but now let me just for the sake of an argument, and I generally am on the side of labor. I don't much care about management. I don't care about the owners anywhere along the line. But now with those prices, can they still show a profit running a franchise, or are those days gone?
They can. The real problem, David, is the disparity between local broadcast revenues of the big teams and the little teams. Steinbrenner gets $60 million a year.
From his cable and his radio and his local TV.
Local broadcast revenues. Milwaukee, Kansas City, Minnesota get $3 to $4 million. Now that's a $56 million disparity, and there's only so much.
And they don't share it. I guess in the NFL they do share
much
it.
Less revenue share. Now there's some number, and it may be approaching $56 million that stupidity can't outweigh. And then, so at some point, Steinbrenner is going to be able to take unfair advantage of that.
Now shifting to another thing here, this is puzzling me. This is the year of the World Cup. And we have all of these people, year in, year out, who go to see ball games, go to see ball teams that won't win, go to see ball teams that finish, 14, 15 games out of first. But yet to get people, Americans, to go to a soccer game, it's not going to happen. Now, why? What happened there?
I just think baseball is so woven into the American past. So it has a history in this country as long as the Republic itself. There's a sense in which we all identify with baseball. Baseball, we are all failed baseball players, is how Fay Vincent puts it. Bill Veeck, the late great owner of the White Sox and other teams, said baseball is the only sport in which you don't need to be either 7 feet high or 7 feet wide. Sort of normal human dimensions. And I think baseball appeals to people because it is so rich, complex, and it's the only thing in America where lawyers don't matter.
Well, at a certain level.
The result isn't litigated. I mean, it's sort of clean and crisp, and at the end of the day, you know who won and lost.
But the same could be applied to soccer. You don't have to be 7 feet tall to play soccer. You don't have to weigh 260 pounds.
The World Cup's 5'5".
Yeah. And I think in Italy, they really didn't start playing soccer until relatively recently, like the 30s. So it's not like it goes way, way back.
No.
What are we? Hey, you want to knock down the giant dominoes?
No.
No, I didn't think so. It's called Men at Work, and this is selling very well for you, isn't it?
We just learned a few minutes ago it's #1 on the Times bestseller list for the 11th week.
Good for you. We'll be right back, folks. Give my best to Sam and David Brinkley.
Sure.
I'd like to sit in on that. Could I one weekend?
Sure.
All right, fine. My thanks to Mr. Will here, Johnny Clegg in Savuka, and Robert Pastorelli. Tomorrow, folks, it's Robert Klein, Buddy Guy, and Jack Hanna. Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.